The Tao of Self-Confidence, Episode 201. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to the brand new season of the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have an amazing lady who's currently in Hawaii, but she's originally from Poland. She is an entrepreneur, and she's also the co-founder of Kwik Learning, and I'm just really honored to have her on and share her story. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Alexis Banc. Alexis, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to our listeners.
Thank you, Sheena, for having me on here. So as you mentioned, I'm co-founder of Kwik Learning Online. It's a memory and speed reading company. We currently have a worldwide audience of 120 different countries, and our Brainiac students consist of celebrities to executives from some of the largest corporations in the States. Right now, I'm also cooking up an anti-procrastination reading program to bring new flavors to reading books and raise the level of confidence and happiness in communities. And I'm also a big space geek, so I'm looking forward to partaking in suborbital flights and being part of the first Space Learning Center project.
Awesome. Looks like you have a lot on your plate, but it sounds like all, tons of fun and, also doing it at the same time. So, Alexis, what's your cultural background?
My cultural background, I was born in Korea. I moved to the States at age 11, and I have this typical immigrant story of moving to the States with a few dollars in the pocket type of thing. And I was extremely shy and awkward growing up, so it took me really long time to learn English actually and keep up with school, which is not very Asian according to my parents.
I can totally understand. I mean, when I first came to Canada, coming from the Philippines, I had to take English as a second language course. So, it's like English wasn't my first language either. And, just you have to do whatever it takes to just get it done, right? So, especially coming to a whole new culture, a whole new country, not knowing what what's going on. So thanks for sharing that. And, Alexis, what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
Favorite self-confidence quote? I think there are too many, but because I'm a big fan of self-mastery, I think Carlos Castaneda sums it up really nicely with this quote. The self-confidence of the warrior is not the self-confidence of the average man. The average man seeks certainty in the eyes of the onlooker and calls that self-confidence. The warrior seeks impeccability in his own eyes and calls that humbleness. The average man is hooked onto his fellow men, while the warrior is hooked only to infinity.
I love that. And, for me, I don't think there's any person that's average. I think each and everyone who's, put on this earth, we all have certain talents and skills that are extraordinary. It's just that sometimes society just puts scarcity in our heads, which makes us feel like which makes most people feel like they're average. But, I think we all have a warrior inside us. So, I really love that quote that you mentioned. It's actually the first time I've heard it. And in your own words, how would you define self-confidence?
To me, I think self-confidence means you're not afraid to be responsible for yourself, like all your thoughts, your feelings, and actions. I think confidence comes from knowing that you have full control over your physical, emotional, and intellectual states. It means that you take full charge of how you deal with everything that happens in your life. And I think that's also freedom, which is why I call self-sovereign. And I think that's the root of confidence. And when you have that, it makes you feel like you could take on anything in life.
Awesome. And I like that definition too, right? I mean, it does start with us taking responsibility of our actions, just going out there and doing it, even if we stumble along the way, which we all do. We all make mistakes. We all fall down, but we get back up and we just keep going. So love that definition.
Exactly.
And Alexis, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
Before discovering self-confidence, I think this is very common among Asian women because a lot of my friends who are Asian are like this. As I mentioned before, I was shy and especially a huge sucker for validation when I was growing up. So I wanted to be liked by everyone. So I almost never said no. And I had a habit of putting others' feelings before mine. So I got taken advantage quite often, actually.
I think we're all guilty of that, right? Especially, we all seek validation, especially from our parents, right? If, always wanting to get good grades, going to the best school, getting the best job. And it's not just our parents or relatives around us too, right? It's like they're looking down on us like, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to go to the good school, you have to go get the good job, the white picket fence, the husband. And that's what is pretty much your life is laid out for you. And if you don't follow that path, it's like, you're a disgrace, you're a shame. What are you doing, right? What are you doing with your life? Are you crazy? And, these are most things that, most Asian women deal with, like especially in Asian countries, they've been ingrained to just go out there and get married and not do anything else, pretty much, stop schooling, stop the good job, give everything away. And it's such a shame because there's so many amazing women out there who can do phenomenal things. And the more we can, share, stories like this, let them be aware that there's a better way. I think that's how, we can change the world. So after when you realized that you didn't have to always go through that way or be that way, what was that aha moment in your life when you realized you can be the person you are today?
Actually, it happened. I don't think a lot of people would call a moment like this because I think it's also very common. It happens to all of us. But I think I was really lucky. Like I really consider this moment to be that moment that changed everything for me, which is having someone you trust deeply break your trust. And it happened to me when I was in high school. My old best friend, I was lucky that she, broke my trust at the time because even though it hurt like crazy, it forced me into solitude and I got to reflect through this minor depression that I had. And after a couple of months of crying in bed, I realized nothing was going to change by blaming her. And then there was a time that's when I realized I had to focus on my own mistakes and start asking questions like, how did I get here? Like, what choices did I make to get here? And how could I have done it differently? And then I really started to see that, I was just as responsible, if not more. And that was a huge realization for me. And of course, my parents were also a big support at the time. And they always let me know that I'm loved. And what was most important is that they gave me a lot of time to think for myself, which is, really critical. But I think that was my big aha moment.
Thanks for sharing that. And, sometimes it has to take, a situation kind of like yours, right, where your trust was broken to really dig down and find those answers, right? Because I believe we all have the answers within us. It's just we're either asking the wrong questions or we're not, we haven't found, the right questions to ask ourselves. And like you took that time to be, by yourself, start, figuring out things. And, because of that realization, what's your life been like now?
Life is still full of challenges. I don't think you can avoid pain and challenges. I still think a lot about things and I even worry at times. But I'm definitely confident enough to take on what life brings in front of me. One thing I don't allow myself to do now is, getting into these petty dramas. And I'm very happy about not wasting time for things like that. And I definitely noticed the purpose of my actions switch from chasing validation to setting standards for myself. Just focused on creating excellence and beauty of my own world, whatever that may be.
I love it. And it's true. Sometimes we have to set our own boundaries and we have to say no to some things that will not serve us. And, if it doesn't please somebody, then it doesn't please somebody because in the end, we can't please everybody, right? It just takes takes way too much energy. And in the end, we're still unhappy with ourselves. So, I'm glad you're able to, figure that out and, not have to worry about caring what other people think. I mean, it's not going to go away, but at least we can recognize it and it goes away a lot faster. So,
and I think it's also like important to care about what other people think, but they have to be very important to you. You can't care about everyone because, a lot of times people give judgments and they say positive or negative things when they don't even know you. So I don't really take that seriously, whether it's positive or negative. But when someone who really knows me well, when they gave me compliment or when they give me criticism or, I call it constructive feedback, then I take it seriously. So, it's a matter of picking and choosing, what you want to bring into your life.
I totally agree. And I love that you said, you choose. It's not someone doing it for you. You're the one who's doing the choosing. And people forget that, we all have a choice, to do what we want. So thanks for sharing that. And Alexis, if our listeners are tuning into your episode, they may be in their own journey of self-confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to her?
Can I give 3 tips?
Sure.
Okay, so first tip would be definitely take responsibility for yourself. Take self-responsibility, own up to your own world. And I'm a bit of comic book geek and Stan Lee, he's he's the father of many superheroes, and one of my favorite quote comes from Spider-Man, and he said, "With great power comes great responsibility." And I think the opposite is also true, that with great responsibility comes great power. So taking that responsibility for yourself, it's so important. And that's number one. And number two is, as I just mentioned, it's setting your standard and be selective and increase those standards as you learn and explore through life. It's okay to discover. It's great to be curious, but find out what's important to you, have your values, and keep yourself accountable for your values. And number three, never stop learning and growing. Read quality books. Also listen to informative podcasts like this one, and surround yourself with like-minded people. And I always say that if you want to boost your confidence overnight, then definitely study and feed your brain. It's one of the most miraculous things in the world, and you have it with you 24/7. And also understanding your true power keeps you humble, which is very important for keeping your confidence from turning into arrogance. So I always try to make sure people know that, yes, it's great to be confident, but also the more you know about who you are and what you're capable of, it definitely keeps you really humble. So keep exploring, keep learning, keep growing.
Love it. Love the 3 tips that you mentioned, and our listeners will love that. And Alexis, if our listeners want to connect with you or get to know a little bit more about what you do, or want to know a little bit more about Kwik Learning, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yes, you can connect with me on alexisbanc.com. That's BANC.com. And also, if you're a busy entrepreneur woman like myself, then you probably don't have a lot of time to read. So setting yourself to stop for a moment to pick up a book would be extremely difficult. So I have this anti-procrastination reading program that will be released after the summer. And it will definitely help you to build a better reading habit, create a whole new healthy relationship with reading. So if you're interested in hearing more about it, then subscribe on my page. You can also subscribe there, alexisbanc.com, and I'll be happy to send you more juicy details as we approach the release date. And definitely connect with me via social media. I have it all on my page, and I like to post a lot of things about things I'm learning, so maybe you'll find them to be valuable as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Alexis, you can also head on over to the selfconfidence.com and search for Alexis's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else we talked about. And I really just want to thank Alexis for taking the time to share her story and journey with us. So thank you so much.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for having me, Sheena. I had a good time here, and it's been my pleasure.
It was an honor to have you on. So thank you again so much. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of the Tao of Self-Confidence. Get your free self-talk tape for building self-confidence by visiting our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.